All right, all. I'm live. YouTube says I'm live. I must be live. Welcome in. This is Hanging with Dave. A little, a little show that I put on here every week. A little, whatever you want to call it, a tech show or tech talk or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. A little live stream that I do. This week is episode 32, Hanging Out with Dave. I'll go through mainly I go through the comments that's been left on my videos for the past week or so, and I try to answer them the best that I can. Couple disclaimers I throw out at the beginning of every show. There's a reason why I throw them out. I do enjoy me a cold Budweiser while I do the show. I do like me a cold beer since I am off the clock, so cheers to y'all. I'm glad y'all found the stream this week. Also, I am a truck driver by trade, so I may say a cuss word or a dirty word or something like that. Hope you don't mind too much. And if you do, maybe this ain't the stream for you. But I try to keep it to a minimal. I try not to do it while I'm live or, in videos. I can cut them out. When you're live, you can't really go back and cut them out too well. So there is that as well. As far as the tech questions go, I try to, they say, what can I get out of my CPU or how do I fix this or fix that, a lot of times it's pretty bland answers. It's where I would start on diagnosing the problem. Basically, without having the system in front of me, not knowing the system, it's kind of hard to diagnose. It comes to, but I do my best to answer the questions. Also, people ask me what I can get out of the CPU. How fast can I get this certain processor out of the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H motherboard? It varies. I mean, your motherboard and CPU can be exactly the same as mine. Yours may overclock better than what mine does. It all depends. It's the luck of the draw. I'm sure y'all have heard of the Silicon Lottery. But I tried my best to answer them as well. And as you can see down in the lower thirds, if you like this kind of stuff, a little bit of self-promotion here. Make sure you go down there and give me a like or give me a dislike if you don't like what you're seeing here. And also there's that comment section. I go through them every week like I am tonight. So yeah, you will get a response from me. I respond to them on my weekly live show. Plus I type back to you guys. As of right now, I'm still a pretty small channel, so I can keep up with the questions like that pretty well. So I will also go through anybody that's live and jumps in chat. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. To a limit. There's always limitations to it, but I'll do my best to answer your questions the best that I can with what I know. Before I jump into it, I want to apologize now if I butcher your guys' name. I'm not very good with the English language, let alone the YouTube handle that you guys come up with sometimes. So, some of them ends up being kind of funny when I try to pronounce them, so I hope you're ready for a good laugh. I think that's about all my disclaimers for the show. So I'll flip you over here to the desktop here, and we'll start out with the questions and the comments that was left on this past week. There we go. We'll start out with these, and anything that comes in through chat while I'm going, I'll pause, or when I get to a good point, I'll answer your questions. Let's see here. We got Super Promentio 6 days ago. How to update the BIOS from the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H motherboard. I have the Gigabyte GA A320M S2 HV2 motherboard with the version of F40. It was the one that came with it when I bought it. I would like to upgrade it to F50, which is the newer one. But I don't know if I can safely and avoid having a broken motherboard. Can I upgrade from F40 to F50, or do I have to go to F40 to F41 and then F42, and then finally from F42 to F50. Thank you. I have the Ryzen 2400G, but soon I will be buying a Ryzen 5 3600. I actually looked this motherboard up on this one, because that is a different motherboard than the one I have. So, and here it is, the GA-A320M S2H version 2. He said he's on version 30 F40. And if you read here on F40, which this is something new that you're going to have to watch out for when you're doing your BIOSes, because they say these ain't flat, you can't flash them back once you do them. Due to the BIOS ROM size limits, no Bristol Ridge AMD 7th Gen A series Athlon x4 series APU support. So if you got a Ryzen Athlon series, this motherboard ain't going to support it once you get up to F40. That's something to keep in mind now. That's something you need to also look at on any B450 motherboard that you're going to be updating, or X470 motherboard, to be able to support the 3rd gen or the 4th gen or whatever you want to, however you want to call it. I don't know, it's kind of screwy with the way they got them set up. But they got to drop support for some of the older CPUs to be able to fit the BIOS updates for the newer ones. So you have to make sure you read the notes. But he says he's on F40, correct? Yeah, he's on F40. If you're on F40 on this motherboard, you should be able to go straight up to F50. Before updating your BIOS to F40 or later version, make sure you have prior update to F32. So you have to go to F32, then F40. Once you get to F40, you can skip all these other ones and go straight up to F50. But you have to have at least F40 to be able to do up to F50, which is the newest one. So there's the answer for that one. And like always, I want to thank you all for watching the videos and for your comments. I'm not going to say it after each comment. It just gets a little bit repetitive. So I'll say it now and I'll say it again at the end. Thank you all for watching the videos. Appreciate the support. And thank you for the comments. Let's see here. What we got next? We have mini Gimbus. I don't know how you pronounce that. There ain't no vowels in it. So, yeah. How to update the B450M DS3H motherboard BIOS for Ryzen 3000 CPUs. Let's say, hello, Daves. I have a problem regarding BIOS. I actually accidentally downgraded BIOS from F32 from F50N. From then, I'm not getting display. The motherboard model is the Gigabyte B450M DS3H Wi-Fi revision 1. Can you suggest me help with my problem? Should be the same motherboard as it got Wi-Fi. I didn't even know they made this motherboard with a Wi-Fi. Let's take a look here. But as far as you not having any video out, as you downgraded the BIOS, not unless they stop supporting the onboard video because of the BIOS update. She said she was on F50. Okay, and then she downgraded my BIOS to F32 from F50N. F50. She went down to F32. You should keep flexibility BIOS making you have a BIOS from 32 to 40. Let's take a look here, see what the notes have to say about this. Well, I'm not seeing nothing where it should have done anything to your. My best guess would be depending on the processor you're running. Because you went back to an F32 and it's below the F40 mark. If you got a 3000 series processor, it ain't recognizing your processor. So you would have to So you'd have to get an older processor to be able to get the motherboard up and working again, to be able to get up to at least F40 if it would recognize the 3000 series processor. I'll type them back and see what processor they're using and whatnot, but that'd be my best bet. If it went all the way back to F32 and they're running a 3000 series processor, it just ain't recognizing the processor. That'd be my best my best guess. Let's see here, AMD Gaming 6 days ago. How to overclock the Ryzen 5 2400 on the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H port 3. I believe he put this twice. Yeah, well, somewhat. He also commented pretty well the same thing on the port 1 of that series I have out. I have the Gigabyte B450 DS3H motherboard. Can I overclock my Ryzen 5 1600 to 3.8 gigahertz? Please reply. And down here he asked if he can overclock it to 3.7 gigahertz. That, like I mentioned earlier, I really couldn't tell you. I don't have the 1600 to test on that motherboard to see what you could push it to. If I ain't mistaken, I believe that one does that high by itself. See, it max boost all the way up to 4.2 gigahertz. It runs out of the box at 3.6. I want to say you should be able to push it up to 3.7, maybe 3.8. Might have to turn up your voltage a little bit, but I wouldn't recommend doing it. I mean, it'll max boost by itself up to 4.2. You're actually shooting yourself in the foot by overclocking at 3.6 or 3.7 or 3.8. But yeah, I don't see why you couldn't boost it up by 100 megahertz to get it up to 3.7 or even 200 megahertz. I mean, depending on your cooling solution and if the power delivery don't hold you back. Which that's the problem I found on that motherboard. When overclocking, the power delivery holds you back on that motherboard. It don't have the best power solution. But yeah, I can see you hitting 3.7 to 3.8 gigahertz out of it. I mean, the way I look at my overclocking, if I can't get my overclocks to at least this much, which is the max boost, I don't mess with the overclocking of it. Because the CPU and the motherboard itself will boost you up to 4.2. If you can't hit at least 4.2 steady on it, I wouldn't even deal with the overclocking of it. Just one man's opinion. That's the way I look at it anymore, though. Alright, let's see what else do we got. But thank you. We got Robert S. 5 days ago. Thanks, bro. You're amazing. That was on how to dedicate more RAM to Ryzen integrated graphics on the motherboard on the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H motherboard. You're amazing for watching that video. I want to thank you. Who else do we got here? We got Killing Collazur, I guess the way you pronounce that. How to update the BIOS on the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H motherboard. Whenever I try and update the BIOS, it says can't read this file. What do I do? Well, that's a good question. Could be the flash drive ain't being recognized. It sounds like it may be recognizing the flash drive. It may not be. It may be a flash drive where it's recognizing that it is a flash drive, but it can't read off the flash drive. Maybe something wrong with the flash drive. It could be that you didn't unzip the file. You just downloaded the file right onto the zip drive. When you download the BIOS, you normally have to unzip them and put the unzip files or unzip the files to your flash drive, or they won't work. That would be my best guess for you. That'd be a good place to start. Maybe try a different flash drive or however you're trying to flash it with. If it's an external hard drive or a flash drive or whatever, maybe try a different one. Make sure you unzip it. whatever you're trying to put the unzipped file onto. If it be if it would be a flash drive or whatever, or a external hard drive, make sure it's a formatted in FAT32. That does make a pretty big difference most of the time. Make sure it's a FAT32 format on the flash drive instead of the NFTS file system. We got BNW 137601 in chat. He says a cheap 144 hertz monitor. Yeah. I really couldn't tell you, bud. I usually don't do nothing over 60 hertz. I'm fine with 60 hertz. Let's see here. 144 megahertz monitor. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. Like I say, I normally don't. Let's see here. And depends on your budget and how big you want it. I like the ViewSonics. They're pretty good monitors. LG makes pretty good monitors. Samsung definitely makes a good monitor. AOC. There's a 24-inch core frameless gaming monitor for $145. That ain't too bad of a price. My best suggestion would be to go to like Newegg, go to Paste, go to Search. You definitely want it in stock, but right now it's kind of hard to find anything. Lowest price, cheap 144 hertz monitor. Now the cheapest ones looks like it's going to be this Votech. And if you're looking at buying something that you normally don't buy, I usually look at the reviews on them. Like this one right here's got 4 eggs out of 5 with 19 reviews. Can't be too bad. 24 inch, 1080p, 144 hertz. Let's see what the reviews got to say about it. Where's the review? There's a review. There we go. 5 eggs. You got 8. You got 8 4 eggs. 3 1 eggs. 1 3 egg. 1 2 eggs. And 1 1 egg. Yeah, that looks like it'd be a pretty good one. High competitive price. Worked well for less than a year. Yeah, it's 2 eggs. But, you know, that's normally the way. I don't deal with much more than over 60 hertz monitors. Let's see here. What we got on Amazon? Amazon usually got some pretty good deals. Amazon 144 hertz. Yeah, there's 22 inch for $130. Featured. We want the lowest price because he did say the cheap. Okay, so yeah. The Spectrum, they got that's only 75 megahertz. Why they showing me less than what I put in the search button? Looks like their lowest priced one for 1440, or you don't want 1440. What am I doing? I'm going crazy. That don't matter. We want 1080p, ultra wide, 1440p, 1080p, horizontal refresh rate. There you go, 144 is what we're looking for. Lowest price. Okay, they look like they got the Votech. I guess the way you pronounce that. 22 inch for $130. I'm just gonna look at the reviews on them here. You know, you got 59 reviews, 4.5 stars out of 5. What else do we got down through here? 4.5 stars, 4.3 out of 5 for $139, which is made by the same company. So it looks like that there's an Acer. Acer makes pretty good monitors. I'm pretty happy with the Acers I've used in the past. It is a TN panel, 1 millisecond refresh time, AMD FreeSync technology. If you're running a AMD graphics card, that'd come in handy for you for $150. Now, like I said, that's got 1,293 reviews, and it's hitting 4.3 out of 5, so it must be doing pretty good with the review system. Of course, I know the reviews is kind of iffy on some of these sites. I understand that. Because you got to make sure that they're talking about the exact same thing of what they're actually saying they're talking about. But, yeah, like you can see right here, size, 2.5, 24.5 inches. Down here, this is talking about 27 inch. Down here, talking about 23.6 inch. That's 27 inch. And some of these ain't gonna, what is that, 24 inch monitor? 23.6. So you can eliminate all of the ones from that's saying about the 27 inch, because it ain't a 27 inch monitor you're looking at. That'd be my best bet for you, bud. That I really couldn't tell you. But that'd be my recommendation on it. Thanks. Let's see here. BMW 137601. Thanks for that, but is AMD stock, I think it's maybe stock cooler good. I have to change it out. If you're running stock, depending on your motherboard as well, stock cooler should do pretty good. Like whenever I did my overclocking on the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H motherboard, it wasn't a heat thing. It was, the cooler was doing fine. The cooler was doing alright. It was the fact that the power delivery on the motherboard couldn't push the CPU hot enough to where the cooler even made an effect on it. So it kind of depends on the motherboard you're running. The X470 motherboard I got, on the other hand, it's pushing so much power to where the Hyper T4 can't handle the heat. I've actually tried overclocking on it. I haven't put a video out because I can't get the overclock because my cooling solution ain't good enough. It's actually something I've been looking at. I've been looking at 280 millimeters all-in-one water coolers just to, or liquid cooler, so I can overclock it and see what I can actually get out of it. I haven't pulled the trigger on buying one yet. But the stock cooler, if you're running stock, it's pretty good. It does pretty good for what it is. It's even good for mild overclocks. Like I said, it depends on your motherboard. If you got the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H motherboard or one of the lower end tier B450, you should be alright with that stock cooler. Most of the systems I build, I use a stock cooler that comes with the CPU. But, like I said, it all depends on if you're going to be overclocking or not, what you want to push it to, and what kind of power delivery is on your motherboard. The best thing would be to try to overclock it and see if it's temperature related or if it's the power delivery that's holding you back. If it's power delivery that's holding you back, your temperature's still looking alright. As long as it ain't getting up in the, say the mid 80s as far as temperature goes, it ain't your cooler that's holding you back. It's going to be your power delivery to your motherboard. That'd be the way to tell. And some people are going to argue with that. Some people don't even like the CPU to get that hot. But normally, your processor ain't going to start throttling back till it hits about 90 C. So if you're hitting up into the 80s and you can't get it past that, it ain't going to be your cooler. It's going to be your power limits on your motherboard that's holding you back from overclocking. And it depends on the way the cooler looks too. It depends on what processor you're running. Depends on what cooler you got. If you got one with the RGB lights on it, or if you got one of the stock ones. I mean, to me, AMD makes some pretty good looking stock coolers anymore. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a personal choice, but as far as temperatures go, I try to overclock your CPU. As long as you're in the mid 80s or below, it really ain't going to be a cooler holding you back. It's going to be your power delivery on your motherboard. And if you think you get, if you're hitting above 85C or whatever on your CPU, maybe consider looking at a different solution. Now, it all depends on what kind of temperature you're running, what kind of voltage you're running, and how good of a power delivery your motherboard's got to it. So it's kind of hard to just tell you, to replace or not to replace it without knowing the facts of what kind of temperatures you're hitting with your system and how hard you're trying to push it. But I'm glad you joined me tonight in this little episode of Hanging with Dave. Cheers to everybody that's here live. Looks like I got a few viewers. Appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. I hope that kind of clarifies. It depends. It's a good little heat sink as long as you ain't trying to push your CPU too much. Then it depends on if your motherboard can push enough power to it to where it's heating. That's with a cooling solution that's actually holding you back from hitting the numbers you need to hit, basically. All right, let's get back to the questions here. Okay, that one there I done answered. That's AMD Gaming. I just answered him a few moments ago when I read his other one. Corner, 4 days ago. How to disable the onboard graphics on the Gigabyte B450M DS3H motherboard. My BIOS does not show integrated graphics. Why does it not show up? If your CPU ain't the 2200G, the 2400G, 3200G, 3400G, on one of the older Athlons, it ain't gonna show up. If you don't have an iGPU, it ain't gonna your integrated graphics ain't gonna show up. If you're running one of them processors that got an iGPU and ain't showing up, I really couldn't tell you. I've actually had that question asked quite a few times, but usually it's because the processor don't have an iGPU in it. If it don't have an iGPU, it ain't gonna show up. Let's see here. Who else do we got here? They have Dithrius. Dithrius? That's the way you pronounce that. That's what I'm gonna call you. How to dedicate more RAM to the Ryzen integrated graphics. Does this work on the B450 S2H? I've looked up that motherboard before because I've had questions about this. I haven't actually tested it on this motherboard because last time I looked this motherboard up, I would have to get it through Newegg, and it comes from Israel, and it's going for over $100 US. But it's basically the same motherboard besides the 2 and the 3 that's in the title. I don't see why it wouldn't work. It should have fairly the same BIOS set up on it. Let's look at the BIOSes on it and see if it's got pretty well close. Should have close to it. It's got different BIOSes on it. I really couldn't tell you if that would work on that motherboard or not. I don't have a straight answer for that. I don't have that motherboard. I can't test the motherboard. So I don't know exactly how to answer that question because I really don't know if it would or not. The best thing to do would be to try it and see if it works for you or not. That's about the only suggestion I'd have for you. That's it. And he also commented on the same video. He also commented, "I can't find integrated graphics on my Gigabyte B450 S2H motherboard." Apparently, it's got a different BIOS setup than what the DS3H motherboard has. And like I said, I don't have that motherboard. I can't test it. I don't think there'd be enough interest in that motherboard to buy one just to test it out and to get the answers for you guys on it. Like I said, I have had several questions about that motherboard in the past, but with the prices and the shipping and where it's coming from and everything like that, it really wouldn't, I don't think it'd be worth my time or my effort and my money to order it. I don't even know if I could even get that motherboard or not. I've actually thought about ordering one and doing some videos on it because it has been pretty, it has been coming up with quite a few questions about this motherboard. Yeah, it's $170. I ain't gonna pay $170 and have it shipped. It ships from Hong Kong now. I think it said Israel last time I looked this one up. But if it ships from Hong Kong for $170, I can't pay $170 for that motherboard just to do the test, to answer the questions on it. Sorry guys, I just don't have the funds to do that kind of stuff yet. So, yeah, I'm sorry I can't answer your question. Apparently it's got a different BIOS setup than the DS3H motherboard. Unless you're not, and again, like I mentioned, if you ain't running an APU, your integrated graphics ain't going to show up on it. Your integrated graphics is going to be your Athlons. It's going to be your 2200G, 2400G, 3200G, 3400G, and then it's going to have your integrated graphics. If you're running something else besides one of them, your integrated graphics is going to be grayed out and you ain't going to be able to do nothing with it. Let's see here. Shiny Hunter 4.0. How to build gaming PC in the Fractal Design Focus G 2019. Where did you find the three-way fan splitter? I want one, but I'm afraid to get the wrong one. It's going to be for my first build. I actually got them off of Amazon. I believe I can fly. Yeah, I ain't giving up my day's job anytime soon. Let me see if I can find where I ordered them things at. But I believe it was from Amazon. There, I think that was this year. I think I ordered those. Yep, apparently it wasn't this year. 2019 maybe. 2019. That's right, Kingston. Man, I ordered too much computer components. Maybe it was Newegg I ordered them from. Yeah, I'm not seeing them. And I know it wasn't 18 when I ordered them things. Nah. Yeah, there they are. Let me flip you guys back over here. I don't think it's showing any of my personal information, I don't think. None that's too concerning to me anyways. But these right here is what I bought. These here's a three-way fan splitter. If you're looking at them, the main thing I look at is a 4-pin. Make sure they're a PMW. Like you can see right here, they're $9.39 a piece. So we'll do one of these and we'll do those. If you guys want to see what I'm looking at, there's a link to them for you. The main thing is to make sure they're a four pin. They're a PMW. Which I don't know, they may not even be available. Because I pulled that out of my order history. Now they're still available for $9.39 a piece. My last purchase on November the 7th of 2018. I can't believe it's been that long ago. But anyways, there's the ones I ordered. I haven't had no problem with them. I still actually have several of them left because I ordered quite a few of them when I ordered those. But yeah, I just ordered mine from Amazon there. Make sure they're a 4-pin, which is a PMW fan. That way, if it's a if it's a PMW fan and you're hooking up the PMW header, you got the control of the fan. That's the biggest thing to make sure of, And again, I've never bought them before. I looked at the reviews. It looked like they were pretty good reviews. They was a decent price, so I tried them. And like I said, I've tried them. I've used them in several builds, and they seem to work just fine for me. So yeah, that there's where I got them from was Amazon. I'll put that link in whenever I answer them as well. That way, if he wants to buy the particular ones that I got, he can. Let's see here. We have Pavonik Gill. I guess the way you pronounce that. I don't know. How to build in the gaming PC in the Fractal Design Focus G 2019. That RAM is way overpriced. Damn, $188 for 16 gigs of 3000 megahertz RAM. Someone got scammed. I'm not even really sure what RAM was in that system, but I'm sure I didn't pay that much for the RAM when I bought it new. Let's see here. XMP Gimmet. Yeah, I did pay that much for that RAM. I guarantee you I didn't pay that much for that RAM, or I wouldn't have bought it. Copy, paste. Actually, I don't know where he's looking at, but it's currently unavailable. That's probably why it's showing so high of a price. Hold on a second here, because I know I didn't pay that kind of price for that RAM. I wouldn't pay that much for 16 gigs. Order history. That had it been 2019, because it was 2019 build guide. Ordered the case. Ordered some SSDs. Ordered some fans. Ordered some adapters. Some ball stick RAM. Maybe I ordered that from Newegg. So Newegg, sign in. Order history. Patient order 2019. Patriot. So it's out of stock right now. I ordered mine from Newegg. What did I pay for mine? I don't think it's going to give out any of my information. Right there's where I ordered it. I ordered on 4/11 of 2019, and I got mine for $84, which back in 2019 that wasn't too bad for 16 gigs of RAM at 3000 megahertz speed. That was a pretty good price back then. So yeah, I didn't pay that kind of price for mine. I figured I didn't. I just wanted to verify and show you that I didn't pay that. I'm a little bit better shopper than that. But with the way everything's going right now, them prices may vary. Like I said, with the way the economy is and everything, I wouldn't expect to. I wouldn't be looking to build a gaming PC. I've actually got some money saved up to build one for the channel. But yeah, I can't find the good deals to get any ports ordered. So yeah, but if it's $188 for 16 gigs, Yeah, someone's getting scammed right now. Like I just showed you, I paid $84 for it back in 2019. But then again, it's the way everything's going right now. With everything's going on in the world, you know, to get it, you'll pay an extra for it. Let's see, what else do we got here? We got Marco Battisti. How to update the B450 DS3H motherboard BIOS for Ryzen 3000 CPU. My BIOS is F32. How am I going to update it? Well, um, if you got the B450 MDS3H, and you're running BIOS 32, I believe, I'm going to look at it here, but I think you're going to need an older CPU. 32. Yeah, if you're running F32, if it comes with F32, that means it ain't Ryzen 3000 ready. No, I mean, I guess it'd help if I flip you guys back over here. If you're running F32, it ain't compatible with a 3000 series processor, like the 3600, the 3400, 3200, 3700, 3800, whatever it may be. It ain't gonna be compatible with them processors. You'll have to have a 1000 series or a 2000 series processor to get updated to at least F40 before it will recognize the 3000 series support list. There's several ways about this. If the box says Ryzen 3000 ready, I'd send it back. That'd probably be your best bet. Start the refund process on it. If you reach out to AMD, if you just type in, you know, AMD loaner processor, it should come up in Google for you. Then they will loan you a processor, an older Athlon processor, to update your BIOS to the F40 to get yours up and going. That's an option. Some local computer shops, depending on your area where you're at or whatnot, you know, some of them will do it for free or a small fee to update that BIOS up to the newest one for you, to the Ryzen 3000. A lot of them's going to, nowadays, a lot of them's going to charge you. You know, a lot of people, when the Ryzen first launched, or the 2000 series processors launched, they were doing it for free just to get you into their computer repair shop. But, you know, now they're probably going to charge you a small fee to do it, depending on your area where you live and how much of a businessman they are, I guess. You can do that, or there's reaching out to AMD and having them supply you with a Athlon processor with integrated graphics to update it with. Or you could always buy a cheap Athlon processor for the first gen or second gen to put in it to update it. You know, you can usually find them for, 30, $40 now. You can even go on eBay and probably pick one of them up fairly cheap because they're only dual core. Nobody really wants them. You probably pick one of them up fairly cheap and update your BIOS to where it runs your 3000 CPU. That's a few ways you could do it. Let's see here. Who else do we got here? We have Israel Maya. I guess the way you pronounce that. How to update the B450 DS3H motherboard BIOS for Ryzen 3000. Hello, Dave. Thank you for your video. I'm experiencing some issues with F41B version. Every day I have to set up the time. I'm using the Ryzen 5 3600. Do I need to remove my Ryzen 3600 and use a second or first gen to F50? The F32 does not support Ryzen 3 generation. Um, if you're running F41B, motherboard don't even have an F41B. There's a 42H. Now, unless that was one of them little sample BIOSes and they quit using it. As long as you're above F40, because that supports the 3000 series processors from AMD. As long as you're on F40, which is, you say you're on F40, you could update it straight to F50. I don't know why they're bringing up F32, but yeah, you're right. F32 does not support the 3rd gen. But if you're getting into that BIOS, whatever BIOS you're running supports the 3000 series processors. So if you're supporting the 3000 series processors, I just updated it up to F50. Every day I have to set up the time. If you gotta set up the time at the BIOS level, now Windows may be different, but if you gotta set up that time every day at the BIOS level, more than likely your BIOS, your CMOS battery's bad. Your CMOS battery's gonna need replacing. If you gotta set the time in Windows, it seems like you got an operating system problem more than a motherboard or a CPU problem. But if you're on F41B, you could go up to F50 without no issues with the Ryzen 3600. I don't know why you want to do from F32 up to F50 if you're running F41B. But if you're going to drop it back down to F32, then go to F50, yeah, you will need an older CPU for that one. Let's see here, what else we got? We got Zeality one day ago. How to overclock the Ryzen 5 2400G on the Gigabyte B450M DS3H port 3. Hi, I'll be getting a 2400G soon. I would like to overclock the APU in this chip, as I'll do gaming with this motherboard. Am I okay keeping the speed at 3 gigahertz? What do you recommend for the APU? The 2400G, I'm actually, which I'll get into this at the end of the live stream, but I've been working on a video on overclocking the APU or the iGPU in these CPUs on this motherboard. I've actually thought I had one out on the channel, but I don't. But if you feel comfortable enough to get into your BIOS and overclock the GPU, it would, or the APU side, the iGPU side of the APU. The 2400G, I believe it runs at 1200 megahertz or 1250 megahertz. Most people are reporting you can get up to 15 to 1550, 1600 megahertz on the iGPU side. As far as the CPU side goes, if you're going to be overclocking the iGPU to get better gaming performance out of it, I'd keep the CPU at the same speed. And the main reason for this, normally when you overclock a graphics card, it's its own system. You know, your power delivery and everything like that is made just for the GPU. With an APU or a processor CPU that has integrated graphics, it shares the power delivery system and everything else that goes along with it between the CPU and the GPU. And you go trying to overclock your CPU along with your iGPU, you may hit big limits because of that power delivery. If you're running, I'm going to assume that you're running the B450M DS3H motherboard. I'd recommend, if you're going to be overclocking the iGPU side of it, to just clock it and leave the CPU side of it alone. And like I said, I'd shoot for the 1500 megahertz or maybe even 1600 megahertz, see how it does. You may have to go in and turn it back a little bit, which you can do that through the BIOS. You can do that through something like MSI Afterburner, something like that. You know, it's one of the more popular GPU overclocking softwares out there. So yeah, that'd be my recommendation. If you're overclocking the iGPU, the APU side of the chip for better graphics, I'd leave the CPU run at what it's supposed to be running at. Especially if, like I said, especially if you're on a budget motherboard like the B450 MDS3H motherboard, just because of the power delivery. Even just overclocking the CPU, I didn't get as much as what I thought I should have because of the power delivery. It wasn't a heat issue, it was a power delivery issue. And you're trying to pump up power to the CPU side and the iGPU, you're going to be asking for issues. So that'd be my recommendation for it. I do have a video. Hopefully I'll be coming up with a video on that soon, how to overclock out the iGPU or the integrated graphics, which I haven't did, which I thought I did do, but I didn't do. So yeah, that's a video that's running around in my head to do. Let's see here. Next, we got Jake Barnett. How to overclock your RAM on the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H motherboard. You are a lifesaver. XMP profile kept crashing my system. Doing this made it work flawlessly. Well, I'm glad you found the video helpful. I'm glad I saved your, I don't know about lifesaver, but I'm glad I could help you get that RAM up to a better speed. Glad it worked out for you. Let's see who else do we got next. We got June Stabs. How to update the BIOS on the Gigabyte B450 DS3H motherboard. Is this the update you need in order for the motherboard to work with the Ryzen 3000 CPU? To work with a Ryzen 3000 CPU, you need to be up to at least F40. F40 will support the 3000 series processors on this motherboard. Before you do F40, you have to at least get up to F32. So you'll have to upgrade. If you ain't at least on F32, you'll have to do F32, then put it up to F40. And F40 is the one that gives you the compatibility for the next gen AMD Ryzen CPUs. So yeah, you'll have to update to at least F32 and then do at least F40 to be able to run the 3000 series processor. And the processor is the same for both updates. Bahava Guinness, I guess. How to dedicate more RAM to your Ryzen integrated graphics on the Gigabyte B450 MDS3H motherboard. What is your BIOS version? Right now that motherboard I believe is running F50, which is the newest one. Don't look like they've came out with any with any other ones since 2019. Don't surprise me. But yeah, mine's running F50. Mike, how to build a gaming PC in the fractal design, Vocus G 2019. Amazing tutorial, thank you so much. Well, you're welcome so much, Mike. I'm glad you watched and glad you enjoyed the video. Discord Man, how to overclock the Ryzen 7 2700 with AMD Ryzen Master software. LOL, my shit 2700 won't pass 3.9 gigahertz. Yeah, that happens. If I'm not mistaken, I think in that video mine got up to 4.0, 4.1 gigahertz. But whenever I'd go into the BIOS and I try that on the Gigabyte B450 motherboard, I couldn't get it up past 3.9 either. And that there kind of shows you guys, if you ask, if I have this processor, what can I get mine up to? You don't know until you try. That's part of the fun and part of the enjoyment of overclocking. You try to get it pushed up to as high as you can get it. He's got the 2700. I did mine with the 2700. And he still can't get it up past 3.9, but I did better with my processor than what he did, even though it's just 2700. So it just kind of shows you guys. Josh Arligan, I guess. Samsung Cord Monitor, 27-inch CF396 unboxing and overview. This monitor didn't work for me. Well, I'm sorry it didn't work for you. I'd send it back or get you another one. I bought mine from a local box store. So, yeah, I'd take it back and get a refund if it didn't work. Or, maybe you just didn't like it. Sorry if you didn't like it. I bought that from my girlfriend. She's been using it now for quite some time. She hasn't had no complaints to me about it, so I'm assuming she's enjoying that monitor. Let's see here. Who else do we got? We got Chris Vega. How to overclock your RAM on the Gigabyte B450M DS3H motherboard. Thank you. I got my RAM working. This was really helpful. Well, I'm glad I could help you. I'm glad you got that RAM up to which you've up to the speeds to get you better performance out of your CPU. Let's hit the refresh button and see if there's anything else that came in. Nope, don't look like it. Let's see, it says 2 that's likely spam, which is always empty. I don't know why. But yeah, I think that's going to pretty well wrap it up for the comments for this week. That was what, 21 comments that we went through this week? That ain't too bad, I guess. There's some down there that I didn't answer that's really old, but I ain't gonna mess with them. Because I replied to some of the other comments and this and that, and of course they put their comments in 2 or 3 different places, and I helped them the best that I could. If anybody's watching me live, got any questions, comments, concerns, or anything that you'd like to talk about, I answer most questions, even personal questions or whatever, to a point, of course. It's got to be to a point. Text my main focus on this, on the live stream here. Looks like I've been gone for almost an hour tonight. That ain't too bad. Pretty good for me. I usually dedicate about a half hour to an hour for this. Nothing else is popping up in chat. So I think it's going to pretty well wrap it up for the night. For being a Saturday night. And if you watched this far, don't forget to go down and give me a like on this video. Well, before I do all that, I normally do this. Sometimes I kind of skip it. Whoa, I actually got a new subscriber. There's my analytics showing the channel is up to 576 subscribers. I want to thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for watching the videos and the comments that you leave. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. Whenever I started the channel a few years ago, wasn't too sure if anybody would be interested in what an old man has to say about technology. But I guess experience pays off, I guess. So the channel's growing pretty good. Like I showed you, 576 subscribers. I feel that it should be a little bit higher than that. But here lately, for the last month or so, I've been working every Saturday, mandatory overtime by the full-time job. If you watched any of the other Hanging with Days for the last couple of weeks, I've talked about this. And I guess they're going to extend it. I do get the weekend of the 4th of July off. I'll get off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll pay for it that week. I'd have to work extra hours through the week to get them 3 days off. But after that, it goes back into mandatory Saturdays for the next 4 weeks. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know I haven't been able to post videos, and that's the main reason why. Usually Saturday mornings is when I do my videos. You know, that's normally when I do my recordings, I do my editing, I do my thumbnails, I do my research. You know, that's when I really focus on the YouTube side of making the videos and getting them ready and getting them uploaded. And I've been slacking in that department. It seems like every time I get the channel up and going, it starts growing pretty good. You know, something always beats me down and tries to stop me from growing on YouTube. Stops me from putting out videos. Stops me from being able to do what I enjoy, which that's why I do it, because I enjoy it. And if somebody can learn something from it and I can help somebody out, more power to me. You know what I mean? I do have quite a few videos in mind to do. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, I want to do one on overclocking the APU side of the iGPU side of the APU. I'm going to be using the 2400G with the Gigabyte motherboard that I've used in my other overclocking tutorials. So you know, over that weekend of the 4th of July, I want to dedicate quite a bit of that time that I'm actually off finally to actually making some videos to get up on the channel. Kind of surprised me the channel keeps growing, even though I really haven't been putting out anything. But you know, it's kind of where the channel sits, kind of what I'm going through. I also had a reply to a comment that I replied to. He replied to my reply, and he wanted me to put out a tutorial on how to hook up RGB lights and the fans and all that. Which I've had a couple people ask me about my opinion on doing that as well. So I'm thinking about maybe putting out a video on that. Like I also mentioned earlier, you know, I got some money set to the side to buy computer components for another build. Just trying to find the deals, and you know, I'm anxious to build another computer, but I'm not going to also shoot myself in the foot and put so much money into the computer to build it that it ain't going to be worth it. You know what I mean? There's a value aspect to it. And with the way the economy is, the computer components is, you know, I'm having a hard time coming up with the decent components to put a build together at a decent price for you guys. I'm going to work on that. And, you know, leave down in the comments below or in chat if you guys are live. You know, if that RGB and how to hook up the RGBs and how to hook up all the fans and whatnot in the system, because it seems like it's a big thing to people nowadays. If a video or something like that would interest you, you know, something like that would be something you'd be willing to watch. I know the RGBs and whatnot's a big thing nowadays. You know, whenever I was trying to sell computers that I built off of the eBay builds that I put together in the past, I've had people tell me, you know, hey, that ain't a gaming PC, it don't have RGBs in it. Hey, that ain't a gaming PC because it don't have tempered glass. But, you know, my question is, how much of the budget do you actually allocate to the way it looks, which is pulling away from the performance of the machine? You know, I mean, are you looking at $100 worth of RGBs to go from 16 gigs of RAM to 8 gigs of RAM, and to go from a 6-core processor down to a 4-core processor, and, you know, to go from a, I don't know, 5600 XT to go back to a, you know, a 1550 graphics card to just to have the looks and cut back your performance that much? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but my builds have usually been based around the performance side of it, not a whole lot into the looks of the system. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I ought to start allocating $100 to $200 to $300 per build just for the RGBs and the tempered glass side panels and whatnot. and saying the hell with the performance. Apparently that's what people want nowadays. The way it looks is more important than the performance of the system. I don't know. Sound off in the comments below what your opinion is on that, or how much you'd be willing to give up in performance, or what parts you would be willing to cut back on to get that RGB and the tempered glass side panel. Because at the end of the day, all that costs money. You're looking at, say you got a set budget of $600 to build a gaming PC, or $800 for a gaming PC. By the time you put in your RGB lights, you put in your RGB fans, you put in, you pay an extra $25, $50 for a case to have the tempered glass side panel. That's going to cut back on the performance of the machine. Sound off in the comments below. Let me know how much of a price you're willing to give up on the performance side of things for the looks of the computer. I'm kind of interested to see what y'all think about that. That's something to keep in mind too when you're building your system. You got a set budget. How much you willing to give up in performance just to have a better looking system? But anyways, that's kind of going through my head. I'll probably end up putting out some videos on this topic. But let me know what you think. If you made this far in the live stream, 2 thumbs up to you. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the video. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the live stream. If you made this far, it's been a little over an hour, so you must be enjoying the content. If you're enjoying the content, well, you're down to leave me a comment. Let me know how much of the budget you think should be allocated to RGB and tempered glass panel. Make sure you hit that like button. There's that sub button with the notification bell. That way you're notified next time I go live or upload a video, which I'm hoping to be coming up soon. As far as the videos go, that is. Give me a dislike if you didn't like this. I mean, if you sat here for an hour listening to me ramble on and answer these questions, you must enjoy something out of it. Even if it's just to laugh at me about the way I pronounce some of these YouTube handles. I don't know, I kind of get a tickle out of that myself. And also, if you go down in the description, there's also links down there for my Instagram and my Twitter. I won't blow your inbox up. If I get new ports in or whatever, I share a photo of them. Or once I get a build done, I'll share a photo of them. Or when I go live, or when I got a new video up, sometimes I'll give you a sneak peek of the video before it goes live. Something like that. So if you'd be interested in following me over there, make sure you go down and check out them links in the description. But with all that being said, you all have a good evening or good day, depending on where you're from. And I'll see you in the next video or live stream.